Hi folks, we're here in Mineola, Texas at the Mineola Historical Museum. Now, the reason we're here first, because I've got some proof of something important about Bonnie and Clyde. So come and watch. Okay, we're outside the Mineola Historical Museum. This is a scaled down version of the original water well that was located in the middle of town. So that's something to look at. More history, huh? What I wanted to show you was this article right here. You guys can see it and pause it and read it. I can read it to you. Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and read this to you because it's kind of long, but it's interesting. Bonnie and Clyde in Mineola. One early morning, Dr. Robert Coleman was returning from a call to the country. When he came down Broad Street, he noticed a light on in Dummy Jennings' shoe repair shop. He saw Dummy on the floor bleeding. As it turned out, when Mr. Jennings was opening his shop, he was beaten by Clyde, Beryl, and Bonnie Parker. I remember Daddy saying that for a deaf mute, Mr. Jennings expressed himself in many ways: hands, squeaks, and tears. Daddy took him to the office and treated him and kept an eye on him for the day. That was what happened. Okay, this says, continuing here, I almost hate to relate this story because of the trend of glamorizing these thugs. The brutality of this beating was testimony to the cruelty of their rampage. I remember that after these criminals were caught and killed, their bullet-ridden car was brought to Mineola on display. Daddy had no use for crooks and thugs. I remember our family going to the movies one night in which Leo Grace and the Bowery Boys appeared, and after about 15 minutes, Daddy announced that they would be leaving. He told Mrs. Hooks that the movie was not appropriate for children, and I was absolutely in awe. I didn't think anyone had the courage to say anything negative to Mrs. Hooks. On the other hand, I see the mess in theaters today. I think perhaps we need more of Mrs. Hooks. Okay, now here's some more. Mrs. Hooks, they were the owner of the Select Theater. We got a lot of history on that too. Okay, now note, it says how times have changed. I doubt if anyone would call Mr. Jennings dummy today, but everyone did. He was a diligent worker and everyone liked him. So because he was deaf, they gave him a nickname Dummy, which is not politically correct. So it's rumored that Clyde, Beryl, and Bonnie Parker stopped at the restaurant a time or two when they came to Mineola, and I have heard they made plans and were going to hit the bank. It is Carl Little's restaurant and filling station. Carl Little's is Daisy Pearl Atkins' father, and I don't know who that is. This is an excerpt from the personal papers of Frances Coleman Slothler, daughter of Dr. Coleman, practiced medicine in Mineola, and was also the owner of the Coleman drugstore and hospital. So, like I showed you, that was Robert that actually helped Dummy with his injuries. So that's pretty cool. And we found out where this place is, so we're going to check that out. But this is a poster of from the movie Bonnie and Clyde with Warren Beatty in it, and that is cool. And there's some more stuff about that that's really interesting about Mineola. All right, guys. This was the Coleman drugstore and hospital, actually. And Robert Coleman owned the place. And it started in 1902. Well, he was working the day that Bonnie and Clyde were in town. And Bonnie and Clyde beat somebody up down the street. But let's take a look inside its building because it's pretty cool. I thought they were open. I guess not. And you can see on the right side, it looks like it has some
old shelves, yeah.
old shelving.
All right, guys, this is a better view of the Coleman Family Drugstore and Clinic. And we're located at 110 South Johnson Street here in downtown Mineola. This is the old historical section of Mineola. And from right here, we're gonna walk down to where Dummy was beaten by Bonnie and Clyde.
Okay guys, we're at 118 South Johnson Street in Mineola, Texas. And this was called Jennings Shoe Store. And the owner of the store was deaf. And his nickname was Dummy. Everybody loved him. I know it's not politically correct, but his name was Dummy. And anyway, Dr. Coleman was on a house call out in the country, and he came by and he saw the light on. So he stopped and went inside and found Mr. Jennings, or Dummy, all beat up in the middle floor. And by sign language and notes, whatever, said it was Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde came in here and beat him up. I guess probably to rob him. I know this all hearsay, but I would think they would have tried to rob him. But that's the story. And they were looking for money at that time. They needed the money. And there's a whole story about trying to rob a bank. Now we'll show you more about that.
We're located at 126 East Broad Street in Mineola, Texas, and this is the East Texas Burger Company, the home of the Big Lunker Burger. And back in the 1920s and 1930s, this was a different restaurant. Janet's got more for us about that now.
Yeah, this was called Carl's Little Restaurant back in the early 30s during the Bonnie and Clyde era. And the story goes that Clyde Barrow and one of his gang members, Floyd, had sat here to eat and were overheard talking about robbing the First National Bank, which is just down the street.
Okay, the reason that we decided to do this video was because we were watching the movie Bonnie and Clyde, starring Warren Beatty. And in that movie, one of the banks that they rob, above the door of the bank, it said Mineola Bank. So we assumed that they had actually robbed the Mineola Bank. When we came to Mineola, we found out that in fact they did not rob the bank, but there's a reason why, and they do have some history here. So that's the reason this video came about, and Janet is going to tell us more about the bank now.
All right, the reason they were thinking about robbing this bank, they went over and talked about it. They needed the money to get Raymond Hamilton out of jail. He was in jail in Hillsborough. Okay, they thought about breaking him out, but no, they couldn't do that. There was too many complications with trying to break him out. So they were thinking, okay, they need the money. So they talked about robbing this bank, and they needed the money to pay the attorney to get Raymond out. But, okay, when they came to scope this place out, Floyd went in to see what the layout was. Okay, he went in, he was really ticked off. There were 4 employees and a bunch of customers in. And he came out and told Clyde, he said, damn it, we can't do it. Clyde said, we can't do it. And Floyd was ticked off. He goes, well, if you don't want to do it, then we won't do it at all. Okay, so that's what happened. He went in, there's too many people, and it was too risky for just the 2 of them. They needed help, or they wouldn't have been able to accomplish it. So they went back to Dallas. So that's the big story. It's the First National Bank. They were going to rob it. They had too many people in there, and it's just Floyd and Clyde at the time. They had to just hightail it out of town.
All right, today, the First National Bank of Mineola is now the Chamber of Commerce. They've got a historical marker here. If I can show you the carving or the engraving or whatever you want to call it, the placard for the bank above the portage here. It's right up there on top, if you can see that. And then they've got some more information on the building right over here. This was also the site of the public mineral water well, which was kind of strange. We've seen pictures of it. This water well literally sat right here in the middle of the road, right in the middle of the road. And they had giant logs that they would carve out to hold the water to take it around to the different farms.
Yeah.
But that was what supplied the city with water.
Yeah.
Strange RV tours will take you places with Greg and Janet's smiling faces. You might see a crazy flavored soda review or some tips to fix your RV too. So come along, won't you join us, friend, as we discover what's around the bend. Just sit right back in your easy chair. Strange RV Tours is on the air. Strange RV Tours is on the air.